Infiniti's bestseller is back with an all-new redesign. Does the Japanese brand finally have a pulse? Jared here with carbuzz.com, and today I'm testing the all-new 2022 Infiniti QX60. If you've lost track of Infiniti's naming scheme, the QX60 is a mid-size, 3-row SUV that was formerly called the JX35. This new model is heavily based on the Nissan Pathfinder, but does the QX60 differentiate itself enough to justify that Infiniti badge on the front? In this video, we're going to find out. So let's begin by asking a very important question about this new QX50, and that is, does this feel like a Nissan, or does it feel elevated to an Infiniti? And the reason why I'm asking that question is because, like the outgoing QX60, this is based on the same platform as the Nissan Pathfinder, which is not necessarily a bad thing because there is an all-new Pathfinder also out this year. So we're going to see if a lot of the improvements from that new Pathfinder trickle over to this QX60. Just like the Pathfinder, we have a 3.5-liter V6 engine. It's Nissan's VQ series. They've been making these for decades now, producing 295 horsepower, which is 11 more than what you get in the Pathfinder. And the big news, both on the QX60 front and the Pathfinder front, is that they've ditched the continuously variable transmission and they now have a new 9-speed automatic from ZF. This is a massive improvement. I always disliked that CVT. It just didn't feel in the right place in such an expensive and a large luxury vehicle. 295 horsepower is not exactly class leading in this mid-size 3-row segment, but it's at least competitive with vehicles like the Lexus RX, Cadillac XT6, and Acura MDX, which all have naturally aspirated V6s. It's not as powerful though as the Lincoln Aviator, which has twin turbos. But it's interesting that I mentioned the Acura MDX because that vehicle and this car have a very similar problem, and that is they produce all of their torque very high in the rev range, which means you really have to put your foot down to get some decent acceleration. It feels just a little bit sluggish at the low RPMs. You have to wait for the 9-speed automatic to shift to give you a good amount of power. It's not a huge problem, but it makes the QX50 feel maybe not as eager as it actually is in the real world, and that the numbers would suggest. And the 9-speed automatic itself, while it is a huge improvement over having a CVT in this type of vehicle, it's not my favorite transmission in this segment. I think Acura's 10-speed shifts just a little bit smoother. This exhibits a rough shift every once in a while, and sometimes it can't quite make up its mind about what gear it wants to be in. These are just minor nitpicks though. I am pretty impressed with the 9-speed automatic, and again, it's a huge improvement over having a CVT. Power from that 3.5-liter V6 engine goes out to the front wheels as standard, or for $2,000 if you live in a cold weather climate, you can get all-wheel drive. I think it's interesting to note that in other markets like China, you don't get this V6 engine. You actually get Infiniti's 2-liter turbocharged variable compression turbo engine. That's the same one you get in the QX50 and the QX55, but mated to this 9-speed automatic, where in America, that engine gets mated to a CVT. I'd be curious to try that engine with that gearbox because I think the engine is fine. I just don't love that it's mated to a CVT. But in my honest opinion, I think Infiniti really needs to give this car a hybrid drivetrain or even a fully electric drivetrain. That would just differentiate this from the competition a lot more than what it has right now. The V6 engine is just fine. It gets 21 mpg in the city, 26 on the highway, and 23 combined. That's with front-wheel drive. You'll lose about 1 mpg with all-wheel drive. It's competitive, but I think a hybrid would give buyers much more of a definitive reason to buy the QX60. I do like how the QX60 drives though. The steering has a lot more weight than I expected when I first hopped into this vehicle. It's quite accurate as well, so kind of surprising to see that in a vehicle that's not really aimed at being driver focused, although the weight of that steering does make the QX60 a little bit of a burden to park. One final area where I believe Infiniti could improve the QX60 is ride comfort. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, we wanted to discover whether or not this feels like a Nissan or a true Infiniti, and I think in terms of ride comfort, it's a little bit too much Nissan and less Infiniti to me. We just went over a bump and it's a little bit choppy to me. You can definitely feel the bumps when you go over them. This is not the cushiest ride in the segment. I think both the Acura MDX and especially the Lincoln Aviator ride a lot softer. An adaptive suspension or something along those lines would do a great deal to differentiate this from its Nissan underpinnings. The final feature I'm going to show you is called Pro Pilot Assist, and it's available on a variety of Nissan and Infiniti models. You can tell if it has this blue button here on the steering wheel that it does have Pro Pilot Assist. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to push this blue button to trigger the system, and then to set it, you're going to just click down for set. You're going to hear a beep with a green icon in your gauge cluster to alert you that the steering is now active. So what Pro Pilot Assist does is it combines the adaptive cruise control, so it's going to brake and accelerate for you and keep you at speed, and use lane keep assist to keep you in your lane with the steering. Now I can briefly take my hands off of the wheel to just show you how this system works. It's keeping me in my lane. It will even make minor steering adjustments if I'm going through a bend. This is not a hands-free system, however, like Cadillac's Super Cruise, so you do have to keep your hands on the wheel at all times, but if you just provide a little bit of light pressure, you can feel the system sort of nudge its way around corners. This makes driving on the highway for long distances a lot more relaxing. So now that we've driven the QX60, let's pull over and check out the interior. But before we do, now is a great time to remind you to smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the notification bell to be alerted of our latest videos. And if you want to read more about the Infiniti QX60, be sure to check out carbuzz.com. Now let's check out the interior. So as we saw out on the road, the QX60 is based on the Pathfinder, so you are going to see some Nissan cues and switchgear in here, but I think Infiniti has done a nice enough job hiding the Nissan underpinnings and making the QX60 feel like a true luxury car inside. We're sitting in the top autograph trim level, which means we have all the bells and whistles, and we have the nicest semi-aniline leather that's available on this car in this very nice brown color. I love the diamond quilting. It looks super fancy and elegant. You even get a little bit of white piping on the seats, and you get the word autograph embossed in the seats. These chairs are extremely comfortable because they have Nissan's zero gravity technology, so very little pressure points. And for the first time ever in an Infiniti model, you have a little button right here for your massage function. You can go here on the screen to adjust the intensity and the style and the speed. This is the very first time Infiniti has ever put massage seats in a car. I'm glad to see them learning from some other European luxury automakers that have been offering this feature for a few years now. And Infiniti has improved a lot more than just adding massage seats. They've done a lot with their interior technology. We now have this new 12.3-inch touchscreen display. That old setup where you had an 8-inch screen up top and a 7-inch screen in the bottom is gone. Thankfully, I didn't like that setup. I much prefer this single horizontally laid out screen. The graphics are much better than what you've got on the outgoing system, and the functionality is better as well. We do have wireless Apple CarPlay right here. You have Android Auto as well, but you have to plug in a USB for that. As you can see though, there are some faults with this system. My biggest gripe is going to be, you see how Apple CarPlay only takes up half the screen. There is no way to get rid of this secondary split screen right here. So 40% of the screen roughly is always going to be taken up by some other feature. So you can't really take full advantage of having this beautiful widescreen. You can change what's on this display, but unlike automakers like Kia, Hyundai, and Genesis, who make it really easy to just kind of swipe through a bunch of different menus and get rid of the split screen, there is no easy way to change what's on the screen. You see it has a clock right now. You have to pull up a separate menu, and now you can have it be your turn-by-turn navigation, a 5-day weather forecast, an hourly weather forecast. That is just way too much of a hassle to switch what's on the split screen. And it isn't just the infotainment that's improved. They've improved other things as well. For example, if I put it into reverse, we still have a above view monitor. Infiniti's been doing these for years now, but the graphics have improved tremendously. A much clearer image. You no longer have stitched lines. You have like little lines stitching the images together on previous Infiniti models. This is a huge improvement. And if I cycle through the different images on the camera, you can see we have this really close up of the wheels here on the side. That makes it super easy to parallel park. I like that Infiniti has finally improved some of the technology like the camera resolution. Wrapping up here in the gauge cluster, the bottom two trim levels of the QX60 are going to have conventional gauges, but if you step up to the autograph trim, that gets replaced by this 12.3-inch digital cluster. You can change the styles, so as you can see here, I have the full gauges set up now, but if I click change meter view, it'll change to this style, where now the tachometer and the speedometer are much smaller and the information in the middle is much larger. This is pretty much exactly the same setup that you get in a variety of Nissan models, like the Rogue and the Pathfinder. Infiniti gets a slightly different color skin to differentiate it. I wish Infiniti maybe would have gone a little bit further in redesigning it, but I think it looks plenty fine, so I won't criticize Infiniti for this feature. Stepping into the back seat of the QX60, you'll normally find a bench seat back here, but if you get the autograph trim, which is the top trim level as we have here, you get captain's chairs instead, with a center console here in the middle that has cup holders and some storage. I really like how each of these captain's chairs is highly adjustable. You have this recline feature right here, so you can lay really far back. You can also slide it forward if you have a kid with not so much leg room requirement, or you can slide it back if you have an adult back here who needs a lot more leg room. Now, I have plenty of space back here in all directions, but I should note that the Acura MDX does have more space in its second row and in its third row. I should also mention that this center console here in the middle is removable, which is a nice feature. You just pull out this one tab and you can very easily lift this out, so you can get a very easy pass through into the third row. However, the Acura still holds the advantage there as well, because the Acura has a bench seat, so you do have a third row seat in the middle, or you can fold that down to make it kind of a center console like this, or remove it altogether to have sort of a captain's chair setup. So I think the Acura is just a little bit more flexible than the Infiniti in that regard. And you do get your own climate controls back here. They're right here. These seats are heated on the autograph trim, but one gripe I have is that you don't get ventilated seats back here. And you might think, oh, that's not such a big deal. Why should the back seats have ventilated seats? Well, the Kia Telluride and Hyundai Palisade both have it, and they cost under $50,000. So I would hope that luxury automakers like Infiniti would catch on and start putting that on a vehicle that costs significantly more. We're gonna wrap up the back seats on a positive note though, because Infiniti has a very clever design for getting in and out of the third row. You have a little button right here that's spring loaded. So look how far that's gonna push this seat forward. You can actually slide it just a little bit more, but that gives me a wide opening with which to get into the third row. So this is extremely easy, even if you're a little bit older trying to get into the third row. I can hop back here, no problems at all with this wide gap. Your kids are gonna have no problems at all. And then you can just slide the seat back. This is not the biggest back seat. I have the seats reclined, so I have plenty of space back here and headroom. I wouldn't be uncomfortable riding back here for a longer period of time. I have my own air vents. I have a USB on each side, 4 total cup holders. And once again, getting out is super easy because you have another one of those buttons here in the back. Just push it, and it's very easy to hop out of this third row. And if you're looking for the most cargo hauling capacity, once again, the QX60 trails the Acura MDX in that category. As you can see, I think there's plenty of storage space, but the MDX has a little bit more. I do like the cleverness of how this third row operates though. You can manually lift them up using these little straps, or if you don't want to go through the effort, you can just push these little buttons right here and it will raise automatically. Now it's interesting that they raise automatically using electricity, but they don't drop down, so you do have to just drop them manually when you're done with them, but I think that's easy enough to do. That's pretty clever, but Infiniti forgot to do the same with the second row, so there is no way to drop those second row seats to make it fully flat here from the cargo area. So in order to do it, you would literally have to walk over to the left side, drop the left seat, close the door, walk all the way over to the right side, drop the seat, and then come all the way back to the trunk. That's a lot of work. So I want to give Infiniti props for improving their third row seat design, but they completely forgot about the second row. Finally, I'm going to wrap up by showing you this underfloor storage, which is quite useful. It goes quite deep, and you do get little grocery hooks back here as well.
Let's wrap up on the exterior, where I have never accused Infiniti of making an ugly car, and the new QX60 is no exception. I especially like the new front end with the sleek headlights and the origami-inspired grille. From the side profile, I think it's very difficult to tell that this is based on the same platform as the Nissan Pathfinder. Infiniti has done a very nice job of differentiating the QX60 on the exterior. I especially love the two-tone black roof when paired with this gorgeous moonbow color. There's really only one thing I hate about the QX60's design, and it's here at the back. These fake chrome tailpipes are extremely tacky. Come on, Infiniti, you could have made them look better than that. So that was the 2022 Infiniti QX60. Pricing starts at $46,850 for the front-wheel drive pure trim, making this kind of a bargain in the 3-row luxury crossover space. This all-wheel drive autograph model that we've been showing you in the video starts at $63,250, which I still think is a great value for what you get. I'd actually recommend it. I think the Acura MDX is maybe a better value overall because it's larger and has very similar features, but let me know in the comments if you'd pick the QX60 over the MDX, Lexus RX, or Cadillac XT6. We really hope you've enjoyed this review of the 2022 Infiniti QX60. For more information about the QX60, be sure to check out carbuzz.com. If you've enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe to our channel, and ring the notification bell to be alerted of our latest videos. I'll see you next time.